The visit that changed everything. If you admire what we do, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I had never once visited my husband's office. After 26 years of marriage, it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But Ethan always had a reason. Too many confidential meetings. The office is chaos. I'll show you around after this quarter ends. Quarter after quarter became year after year. Then one ordinary Thursday, I decided to surprise him. I'd picked up barbecue from his favorite smokehouse across town. It wasn't our anniversary. It wasn't his birthday. I just missed him. Lately, he'd been working later than ever, and I thought a small surprise might remind him that someone was still waiting at home. I parked outside the sleek glass headquarters of Apex Dynamics, where Ethan had become CEO 4 years earlier. The building looked exactly like him now. Modern. Expensive. Untouchable. Inside, everything gleamed. Marble floors, polished steel, walls of glass, people in tailored suits walking with purpose. I smiled at the security officer. "Hi, I'm here to surprise Ethan Brooks." She glanced at the visitor log. "Appointment?" "No." She looked apologetic. "I'm sorry. Executive floor is restricted." I laughed. "That's okay. I'm his wife." She blinked. Then she laughed. Not politely, actually laughed. "Oh, good one. I'm serious." The smile disappeared. "Ma'am," she leaned closer. "I see Mr. Brooks' wife almost every day." My stomach tightened. "What?" She pointed toward the elevators. There she is. A woman stepped out of the executive hallway. Elegant. Confident. Maybe 40. Designer heels. Cream-colored pantsuit. Diamond earrings that caught every beam of sunlight. She walked through the lobby like she owned the building. The receptionist smiled. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Brooks. Mrs. Brooks." I felt every sound around me disappear. The security officer called after her. "Your husband's board meeting should wrap up in about 15 minutes. The woman nodded casually. "I'll wait upstairs." Not a single employee questioned it. Nobody looked confused. Nobody corrected her. Because to everyone in that building, she was Ethan's wife, not me. For one reckless second, I wanted to scream, to run after her, to demand answers. Instead, I forced myself to breathe. If everyone believed she belonged there, then this wasn't some random misunderstanding. This had been happening for a long time. "I think I'm in the wrong building," I said quietly. The guard frowned. "But you said." "I mixed up the company names." I smiled as naturally as I could. "My mistake." I placed the takeout bag on the desk. "Could you give this to Ethan?" "Of course." "Just tell him." An old friend dropped it off. She nodded. I thanked her, walked outside, got into my car, closed the door, and finally let my hands start shaking. Ethan and I met when we were 24. He was finishing graduate school. I was starting my career as a financial analyst. He wasn't rich. Neither was I. We built everything together. When he wanted to launch a consulting business, I worked extra hours. When investors pulled out, I refinanced my car to help cover payroll. When he finally accepted the CEO position years later, I was the first person he hugged. He always said, "None of this happens without you." Apparently, that wasn't true anymore. We never had children. Life just kept getting in the way. Promotions, moves, business trips. There was always another year, another goal, another reason to wait. Eventually, waiting became permanent. I convinced myself we were still happy. Now I wasn't sure I'd known my own marriage at all. I sat in a cafe across the street for almost 3 hours. Coffee grew cold in front of me. My phone buzzed. "Ethan, running late again. Don't wait up. Love you. Love you." 2 simple words. I'd read them thousands of times. Today, they looked almost insulting. I replied anyway. "Dinner's in the fridge." His response came immediately. "You're amazing. Amazing." That word hurt almost as much. He came home just after 11. Same smile, same brief kiss, same expensive cologne. "Long day," he sighed. Board meeting ran forever. I watched him loosen his tie. Every movement felt rehearsed, almost practiced. "I actually stopped by your office today," I said. He froze. only for half a second. Most people would have missed it. I didn't. You did? I brought lunch. Oh, I left it downstairs. He smiled. Sorry, I missed you. I gave it to security. Oh, another tiny pause. They probably forgot. Maybe. He disappeared into the kitchen. A minute later, he called out, "This barbecue smells incredible," as if nothing had happened, as if another woman hadn't just been introduced to an entire company as his wife. During dinner, I casually asked, "How's your chief operations officer doing?" He smiled. "Lena? Yeah, she's brilliant." He spoke about her for almost 5 minutes. How dependable she was. How perfectly they worked together. How she understood his vision before anyone else. His eyes lit up. I hadn't seen that look directed at me in years. That night, I waited until his breathing settled into the deep rhythm of sleep. Then I quietly walked into his home office. For 26 years, I'd never once searched through his things. I trusted him completely. Tonight, trust no longer existed. His laptop sat on the desk, unlocked. He'd never bothered hiding anything, because he never imagined I'd look. I opened his calendar. At first, everything looked normal. Board meetings, investor calls, client dinners. Then patterns began appearing. Dinner. L. Every Friday. Weekend conference. L. Executive retreat. L. Wine tasting. L. Private strategy session. L. Almost every event outside normal office hours included the same initial. I opened the travel receipts. Luxury hotels. Ocean resorts. Mountain lodges. Always 2 guests. Never one. Then I opened his expense reports. One receipt made my heart stop. A jewelry boutique. $9,800. Description: anniversary gift. Anniversary? Ours had been 6 months earlier. I never received anything. I stared at the screen, realizing I had only uncovered the first layer of whatever Ethan had been hiding. And deep down, I knew something even worse was waiting for me. The other life. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that woman walking through the lobby while employees greeted her as Mrs. Brooks. By sunrise, I already knew one thing. I wasn't going to confront Ethan. Not yet. If he'd been living a double life this long, one emotional argument wasn't going to uncover the truth. Facts would. The moment he left for work the next morning, I called in sick for the first time in nearly 7 years. Then I walked straight into his office. I started with the obvious places. Desk drawers, file cabinets, old briefcases. Nothing. Ethan had always been organized. Too organized. It wasn't until I picked up an old watch box tucked behind tax records that I found something strange. Inside was a single silver key. No label. Just a small plastic tag. River Park Residences. Unit 814. I stared at it for a full minute. If it was an investment property, why had he hidden the key? 40 minutes later, I was standing outside one of the city's newest luxury apartment towers. The parking garage required a key fob. The silver key unlocked both the garage gate and the building entrance. Whoever lived here came often. I took the elevator to the 8th floor, apartment 814. My hands trembled as I slid the key into the lock. It fit perfectly. The door opened, and my marriage ended. The apartment wasn't empty. It wasn't staged. It wasn't temporary. Someone lived here. Fresh flowers sat on the dining table. Coffee still steamed inside an expensive espresso machine. A pair of men's running shoes rested beside women's designer heels. 2 umbrellas. 2 robes. 2 toothbrushes. This wasn't an affair. This was a home. I walked farther inside. Family photos covered an entire bookshelf. Not mine. Theirs. Ethan and Lena. Laughing on a beach. Holding wine glasses in Napa Valley. Celebrating Christmas beside a fireplace I'd never seen. In every picture, his wedding ring was gone. He looked happy. Not guilty. Not nervous. Comfortable. Like this had become his real life. The bedroom hurt the most. Half the closet belonged to Ethan. Perfectly arranged suits, weekend clothes, gym bags. Even his favorite leather jacket, the one he'd claimed disappeared during a business trip last winter. It hadn't disappeared. He'd simply left it here. On the dresser sat framed ultrasound photos. My breath caught. An ultrasound. Beside, it was a handwritten note. "Can't wait to meet our little girl. Signed, Love, Ethan." I had to grab the dresser to stay standing. For years, he'd insisted children weren't right for us. Said work came first. Said we'd missed our chance. Apparently, he hadn't changed his mind. He'd simply changed families. I should have walked out. Instead, I kept looking. That's when I found a leather portfolio inside the nightstand. Inside were dozens of neatly organized documents. Mortgage pre-approvals, architectural sketches, luxury home listings, vacation itineraries, everything planned months in advance. Then I found something with my own name on it, a folder labeled Personal Transition Plan. I opened it. Page after page outlined a strategy, not for business, for divorcing me, timeline, estimated legal costs, asset division, suggested talking points, even recommendations from family attorneys. One page chilled me more than anything else. Narrative strategy. Document emotional distance. Emphasize different life goals. Present marriage as naturally drifting apart. Avoid discussing new relationship until after settlement. There were handwritten notes beside several bullet points. She prefers routine. No interest in social events. Career plateaued years ago. Should help explain incompatibility. I couldn't breathe. He'd been building a case against me. Every quiet evening. Every canceled dinner. Every disagreement. He hadn't been forgetting our marriage. He'd been documenting its funeral. Then I noticed something even stranger. A folder marked Financial Planning. Being an analyst for nearly 25 years had trained me to notice details. Numbers tell stories. People lie. Math doesn't. At first glance, everything looked ordinary. Investment statements, insurance documents, savings projections. Then I saw transfer after transfer from our joint account. Every month. Thousands of dollars. Apartment payments. Furniture. Luxury vacations. Private school savings. Medical expenses. Everything funding this life came directly from the account we'd built together. The account I contributed to every paycheck. I opened my calculator, then opened our online banking. I compared statements. Again and again. By lunchtime, the total reached nearly $290,000, almost $300,000. Gone. Not lost. Spent. On another family, I photographed everything, every receipt, every document, every photo, every handwritten note. Then I carefully returned everything exactly where I'd found it. No fingerprints, no signs anyone had been there. When I locked the apartment behind me, something inside me had changed. I wasn't crying anymore. I wasn't even angry. I was focused. My phone buzzed. Ethan. Feeling any better? I ignored it. Another call. Then another. Finally, a text. "You're worrying me." The irony almost made me laugh. The man secretly raising another child was worried about me. That evening, I answered his fourth call. "There you are," he said immediately. "I've been trying to reach you all day. I went for a drive. You scared me. I'm fine. You coming home?" Home. That word felt different now. "I'll be there." "Good." He sounded relieved. "I'll pick up sushi." My favorite. He still remembered every little thing about me, even while building another future with someone else. Dinner felt surreal. He talked about investors, quarterly forecasts, office politics. I nodded when appropriate, asked questions, smiled. Across the table sat a man who had shared 26 years of my life. Yet I suddenly realized I didn't know him at all. After dinner, he suggested we watch a movie. Halfway through, he rested his head on my shoulder, exactly as he'd done hundreds of times before. Then he whispered, "You've seemed distant lately." Distant. I almost laughed. If only he knew how distant I truly was now. I looked at the man beside me and silently made the biggest decision of my life. I wasn't going to expose his secret. Not immediately. First, I wanted to know just how deep this betrayal really went. And something told me the money wasn't even the worst part. The numbers never lie. The next morning, I didn't go to work. Instead, I sat at my dining room table surrounded by bank statements, investment records, tax returns, and my laptop. For For 25 years, I'd built a career finding mistakes hidden inside spreadsheets. Fraud has patterns, so do lies. By noon, I'd uncovered enough to know Ethan's betrayal stretched far beyond our marriage. Our joint checking account received both of our salaries every month. Mine covered everyday expenses. His income was supposed to be building our retirement. Instead, it had been quietly financing apartment 814, luxury vacations, designer furniture, private medical bills, even prenatal appointments. He hadn't simply cheated. He had used our future to build someone else's. Then I started looking at Apex Dynamics itself. At first, I expected nothing. Instead, I found something much worse. Public corporate filings showed an unusual pattern. Over the previous 2 years, nearly every major department had seen modest budget adjustments, except one. Operations. Lena's division. Its funding had exploded. New staff. Expanded authority. Premium software. Major client transfers. Internal restructuring. According to board reports, those changes had supposedly improved efficiency. But when I compared the financial reports to shareholder disclosures, the timelines didn't match. Several executive decisions appeared to have been approved before the board officially voted on them. Someone had been moving pieces long before receiving permission. And every move benefited one person. Lena. I leaned back in my chair. This wasn't just unethical. It could destroy the company. There was only one person I trusted enough to verify what I'd found. David Mercer, chairman of Apex Dynamics. I'd met him twice during company charity events. He always struck me as direct, practical, not easily shocked. When he answered my call, he sounded cheerful. "Claire, everything okay?" "No," silence. "I need to show you something." His voice immediately changed. "When?" "Today, I'm on my way." David arrived exactly 2 hours later. Gray suit, leather briefcase, serious expression. I handed him coffee, then opened my laptop. For nearly 90 minutes, I showed him everything. The apartment, the photographs, the pregnancy, the divorce strategy, the missing money, finally, the corporate restructuring. He didn't interrupt once. When I finished, he slowly removed his glasses. "My God," he whispered. I nodded. "I've checked every number 3 times. I believe you." He stared out the window. "If this is accurate, it is, then Ethan has a massive conflict of interest. Worse." I slid another document across the table. He approved capital reallocations that directly benefited the executive he was secretly living with. David's jaw tightened. "This could expose the company to shareholder lawsuits." "I know." He closed the folder. "Thank you." I laughed bitterly. "I wasn't trying to save the company." "I know." He stood. "But you just did." That evening, Ethan walked through the front door looking different. Not tired. Panicked. His face had gone pale. "What did you do?" I calmly continued chopping vegetables. "I had a meeting." "You contacted David!" "Yes! You had no right!" I finally turned toward him. "No, right?" His voice cracked. "You've destroyed everything." I stared at him for several seconds, then quietly asked, "Which part?" He blinked. "The company? Your affair? The apartment? The baby? The divorce plans? Or the $300,000 you stole from our future?" Every ounce of color disappeared from his face. "You," he whispered. "You know. I know everything." For the first time in 26 years, I watched Ethan Brooks run out of lies. He collapsed into a chair. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this." "No? I never wanted to hurt you." I almost smiled. "You planned my replacement." He lowered his head. "I fell in love. And I didn't know how to leave." I reached into a folder beside me, pulled out the document labeled Personal Transition Plan, then placed it on the table. "You knew exactly how." His eyes widened. "You found that. I found all of it. The attorneys, the timeline, the apartment, the nursery, the house shopping. Even the speech you'd planned to explain why our marriage had naturally drifted apart." He buried his face in his hands. "I'm sorry." "No," I shook my head. "You're sorry because your secret ended too soon." That night, I packed a suitcase. As I rolled it toward the front door, Ethan followed me. "Please." His voice broke. "We can fix this. Can we? I'll end it." "You mean after she loses everything?" He didn't answer. She's carrying your child. Silence. And now you're willing to abandon her too. His shoulders slumped. For the first time, I realized he wasn't choosing between two women. He simply wanted whichever life was easier. I hope one day, I said quietly, you become the man I spent 26 years believing you already were. Then I walked out. The divorce moved surprisingly fast. My attorney barely had to argue. The financial records spoke for themselves. Every dollar Ethan had secretly spent was documented. Every transfer, every receipt, every hidden payment. The judge ordered those funds credited entirely against Ethan's share of the settlement. I kept the house. My retirement accounts remained untouched. For the first time in years, my future belonged to me again. Meanwhile, Apex Dynamics launched an independent investigation. The board suspended Ethan immediately. Within weeks, forensic auditors confirmed what I'd already suspected: unauthorized executive decisions, hidden conflicts of interest, improper allocation of corporate resources. He resigned before they could officially terminate him. No bonus, no retirement package, no farewell celebration. Just a quiet announcement that the company was moving in a new direction. Lena was dismissed the same week. The relationship she'd believed would secure her future ended up costing her career instead. Ironically, the two of them didn't stay together much longer. Without the secrecy, without the excitement, without the executive offices and luxury lifestyle, their relationship collapsed within months. Apparently, reality wasn't nearly as romantic as deception. Almost a year later, I received one final email from Ethan. No excuses, no promises, just one sentence. I finally understand what I threw away. I read it once, then deleted it forever. Because understanding comes far too late when someone has already chosen betrayal over loyalty. People often ask how I uncovered everything. They assume it was luck, instinct, some dramatic coincidence. It wasn't. It was simple. For 25 years, I made a living following numbers, and numbers have one beautiful quality. They don't care how convincing a liar is. Eventually, they tell the truth. The end. Like this video, subscribe to the channel Unforgettable Story, and may the force of Reddit stories be with you, carrying your worries far away and replacing them with peace and joy. Ahaha.